back again where it spent the majority of the build, Blake's garage. Blake's kind enough to help us out tonight with trying to address some of the issues we've been having. I don't know how much time we'll have for tonight. We're going to take a look. When we left Sean's garage last episode, he said there was a little bit of puddle on the transmission for leaking transmission fluid. Strangely enough, I have not seen it leak anything since we kind of got it all together initially. I looked on my garage floor when I left for Blake's today, and there was still nothing. It was bone dry. He thinks maybe just a slight incline that he has on his garage may have done it. I don't know. We're going to take a look under the car and verify if there is an actual leak or not. And then we've just got a couple of miscellaneous things. Blake's going to try and help us hunt down and fine tune on the car, so when it gets back to safe, it'll be that much better to having everything perfect. So we were talking about one of the things in the car, the HVAC system. The blower, it makes noise once we found that fuse that was popped, and it's blowing stuff just not in the right direction. Found out that we actually just didn't have the vacuum lines hooked up like was saying, so hopefully that'll be a super duper easy crazy fix, it looks like. So
yeah, that was, like I said, that was intentional.
Okay. Because
we were troubleshooting other possible vacuum issues, so
we didn't know what was going on with the car for a while.
So
we got the vacuum system put back together, so we should be good.
Yeah, in theory that should let the vents
actuate
and move, and it'll change you from defrost. I think that also does the hot to cold maybe as well.
I didn't really mess with it. For a while I just thought it didn't work, and then we found a couple blown fuses, like, well, it won't work if it doesn't have power.
All these things don't work. I'm like, all those things work when it was here. I definitely tested all that stuff. So.
That's what I thought. I swore like you turned it on, like you're testing the radio.
By the lights. And it's because the headlights were on, so the radio was. I'm like, why is the radio dim all the time?
That's right. We did do that.
Yeah. So I'm like, and then in the radio played music, but I mean, I couldn't change stations. Like it wouldn't change stations, and it acted weird, and I was just like, I don't know.
It probably was just on the way downhill, because then I couldn't get it to play music. It would pop out a CD, but I got nothing to work on at all. So it just probably finally decided to die.
Well, and like I said, those have capacitors that basically dry out or fail, and probably just sitting for a long time.
Right.
Once it got juice again, it's like pooped itself.
So. Yes. Well, good timing, because new stereo's in and it works awesome. So awesome.
Yep. So yeah. So that should be, like I said, we knew that wasn't expected. I knew that wasn't going to be there, because like I said, we didn't want to introduce another variable when we were having vacuum troubleshooting issues. So that just stayed. That was unhooked.
Okay.
So.
Well, that makes sense. Good deal.
That's supposed to be tucked a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get so close to the burning.
Yeah, we don't want the melty stuff to happen. Although she's not making crazy heat yet, but hot enough you touch it, it'll still melt things.
It'll melt wire for sure.
Yes, without a doubt.
All right.
What would you like to do next, Blake? Do you want to
look and see if we can figure out why the Haltech's not actuating the reverse lockout solenoid.
Oh, okay.
That's probably today's list is probably going to be that. Look at the reverse lockout solenoid, and then see if we can see a transmission leak.
Okay.
I don't know, and we'll see. We'll take and see what we can do on the fuel system. I don't know if I want to disassemble the fuel system, but if we want to call it, if we want to consider where you're at to be roughly E. I mean, so here's the catch.
Yeah.
You have. I think the rough term is a shit ton of fuel capacity in this.
Crap shit ton
metric ass load.
Yes.
It's a freaking lot of fuel system, which means that you need to keep a fair amount of fuel in it or you'll overheat it, which I think I heard Safe say.
Yeah, Safe even said, don't get this thing low on fuel.
You don't want to run much below what's a real quarter tank.
Yes.
And the other catch is you have a lot of fuel capacity in the lines because you have so much diameter of line and the big filter and stuff.
Right.
So your pump will suck a lot of fuel out of that tank.
Okay.
So it's dangerous to go below about a quarter tank of actual real fill. So what you have now at E is probably reasonable.
I would guess we probably have an actuality around a quarter of a tank ish in the car right at this moment.
So having it lie to you and tell you that that's E, it's kind of like setting your alarm clock, your clock fast by 10 minutes. You know it's fast by 10 minutes, but at the end of the day, if you see this getting close to E, you go, okay, I better
Right.
go
right.
get some.
Yeah, I
fuel.
don't want to actually hit E and be like, okay, there's the end. Like, so.
Congratulations, you need $450 in
You
your fuel
were.
costs.
Congratulations. Or what's that scene in Top Gun? The Defense Department arrests to inform you that your sons were killed because they were stupid.
Because they were idiots,
Yes.
Yeah, because they were stupid. Yeah. So in this case, it would be congratulations, you're buying some more Hellcat pumps.
Right. I'm not really down for that. Although I will say that swapping them now would be way easy.
Yeah, I
but
like that.
let's not throw more parts to this
I
than
like
we
that
actually have to.
sledgehammer approach to the fuel system.
Right.
So it certainly is a sledgehammer.
Okay. So yeah, we
so
can
let's start. We'll actually do the fuel next because that should be easy.
Sure.
I think it works just like mine.
That's fine.
It's a speed hut programmable fuel level gauge, right? Yeah. So it's the same thing as my last thing.
Yeah, I think I did you a disservice too, and I know you were doing everything at the time, but I went on their website because Safe was trying to adjust. I told him the fuel level is inaccurate, and he got the ohms, and the ohms were off, and I was like, man, I don't think I ever even provided you with that stuff. Like, how?
I just plugged it in. And
Yeah,
we'll fix that once the car works.
Right. So
yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
I was watching it and I'm like, I didn't set that up.
No,
like, I went, hey, it turns on. When I ground it at the tank, it goes like this. So the wiring's good. We'll dick with the settings later. That's like, no offense, but I think it's funny that you're like, my speedometer's off by 3 miles per hour. I'm like, dude, your speedometer's within 3 miles per hour?
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty good. I like your confidence that your GPS is more accurate.
Yes, well, I don't know. I've got this is not tooting my own horn, and maybe I'm going too far saying this, but I've got like an acute sense of speed, and I just feel like, man, I know I'm really close, but I feel like it's just right almost there. And sure enough, I check the actual GPS. I'm like, man, it's 3 mile an hour off. And I'm checking, and someone else is driving next to me, and sure enough, it was just like, I was like, all right, well, I guessed right. And to Safe's credit, he tried to get in the car just as close as he could for me that day of, and he just grabbed a couple GPS hits and put it in there. And
right. Well, and that's something that'll be something to tune in the ECU. So some of that might be something where it might make sense for me to show you how to do it.
One more thing too, and he could have been dead on. When I got new rear tires, those are actually a smidge, I think, taller than the other ones.
More than a 1/4 inch in difference, that'll off your speed by that
that
much.
probably there could have just done it too. In any event, it is close.
Do some burnouts, your speedometer will be right.
Yeah,
now.
right.
Problem solved. All right, let's see. All right. Cool. That worked just like expected.
Okay.
It sees that as empty.
All right.
So we'll see how close to empty. Is there a button for this, or do you need the keys?
I don't need no, I do need the keys because, I don't know, long story short, I don't think it opens how it's supposed to. There used to be a sensor that when you would put the parking brake on, it would release the hatch.
I didn't take that apart.
No, I know you didn't. Not your fault at all. But now it doesn't read that the parking brake is on anymore, so.
I'm curious to see this. I haven't seen.
Yeah. Yeah, we can pop these guys out relatively easy. And I would recommend doing so just for...
Yeah, I just slid this one off so that it could pull the...
Well, I say it's easy. I'm doing it with one hand and a GoPro in the other. But that's
all right, so you need a 1/4 inch.
Yep.
The sender is in there in a fairly accurate manner.
Okay. Those of you watching, we just pulled apart the fuel system. We just wanted to do it quick so I didn't get it on tape, but we're just putting them back together now. But basically, right now there's about a half tank of fuel in there. And to set this thing correctly, we really need it to be about empty. And instead of messing with all that, we're just going to assume that the new sender in there is correct. And then, Blake, you said you're just going to set ohm setting off of that?
Yeah, it says 240-33 on the top of the sender.
Okay.
Which is a standard amount. That's a standard level ohm variance.
Okay.
So I'm sure that's what that is. Like, that would be a heck of a coincidence.
Right.
If it happened to have a standard ohm setting on it that wasn't the ohm setting. So that gauge supports that. So that gauge supports a few ways of setting up your fuel level. So there's like 0 to 90, 90 to 0, like 73 to 8,
Okay.
and then 240 to 33, or custom. And this is a 240 to 33 sender.
Okay.
So we'll set the gauge for 240 to 33, and then that should be like, if the sender, if full on the sender is full in your tank, which it should be, and
Right.
if empty on the sender is empty in your tank, which it should be. I mean, I have faith in Safe. So
Yes.
Assuming those are pretty close, then your gauge will be pretty close.
Okay, perfect. Well, I guess we set it up, we know that we physically have about a half tank in there. So if it reads about a half tank,
Yeah,
then we'll know.
I'm thinking you might even have a little more than a half a tank.
We may. It's so because I've only put on a few hundred miles on this so far. I've only put fuel in the tank a couple of times, and the two readings between were crazy off from 22 miles a gallon to roughly half of that. So it's hard to guess really with the little bit I've driven it where I'm getting mile per gallon and the driving style it's taken.
I bet it's more than 12.
Well, this one definitely is because we've got.
When you said 12, I'm like, that doesn't seem right. Like, it should do better than that. So
Yeah.
I think it is doing better than that.
I think so. So after messing with things a while, it seems like some manual calibration probably on my end is going to take place. So Blake, how do I manually set
Sure.
this thing?
So on the speed hut gauge, when you turn it on, it'll wake up. And so what we're going to do is press this button for like 10, 11 seconds.
Okay.
And this will be real boring. So we'll press this, and then eventually the light will blink, and it will move to 1/8 of a tank.
Okay.
There we go. We are in programming mode.
Copy.
So what we want to do to set custom levels is this. So we're going to keep pressing this button till it gets to full. Each time you press it, it'll move 1/8 of a tank.
Okay.
Right? At full. This is custom. Okay? So now we're going to hold the button for about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds. It'll blink. Now it's going to rock back and forth between E and F.
Okay.
So we'll let it go. Okay? When you want to program full, you hold the button for 2 seconds while it's on the F.
Okay.
When you want to program empty, you do the same thing on the E.
Right.
You can
after
only
that
do
last
one at a
step.
time because it can't be full and empty at the same time.
Correct.
Right, unless it's Schrodinger's gas tank. So right now, that thing, it's roughly full. So I hit it on the F. And then there we go. So now it'll go back and it'll show full because I programmed what the ohm rating is right now for full.
Okay.
So when you actually fill your tank, you'll do this again.
Okay.
So you'll hold it for like 12 seconds. When it goes to the F, you'll hold it for like 1.5, 2 seconds again, and then it'll start sweeping.
Okay.
So it's got to be sweeping before it's going to learn those.
Okay.
And like I said, then when it's on the F, if you want to set full. When it's to where you want E to be, do the exact same thing on the E. So you just hold it, and then it'll do that. It'll turn off. It'll take it like a second, and then it'll go to wherever it thinks the fuel level is.
Okay. So it's going to get an E reading first because I'm just going to bring her down to what we think is 1/4 of a tank, and I'll put it on 1/4 of a tank then.
Well, you won't put it on. You'll put it on E. There's
I'll put it on E.
All it knows how to learn is E and F.
Okay.
So to get a linear sweep of a resistance, you can't pick one here because it doesn't know what that sweep's going to look like necessarily.
Okay, so I want to get the tank near empty.
You want to
get
the tank to what empty needs, what you want empty to be at.
Okay.
So like I said, if you want empty to mean I've got 40 miles, I better go find a gas station, great. If you want empty to mean, I don't have gas anymore, then set it, then siphon the tank dry.
Sure.
So
and then so I'll set empty, and then it'll have that reading stored.
Yep.
And then I just go fill it.
Put gasoline in it to
full
till it goes clunk, know, and then stop it. By the way, never clunk it after it does that. You know that doesn't really do much. Most of it's just in the hose, so you're just screwing yourself. Never do that. Fun fact. So, but yeah, so we're set up for that. Next, we'll take a look at the Hvac at least and see if we can figure out why the stupid brake doesn't, or
reverse lockout
doesn't reverse. Let's get a USB cable.
Sounds good.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay, so try to put it in reverse.
Just try to put it in reverse easily. So it's super hard, right?
Yep.
All right. So we'll flip this. I'm just making sure the wiring's good. I just heard the solenoid. Try to put it in reverse.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Money.
So the wiring's fine and the ECU output's fine. Why isn't the ECU triggering it? Because see, it says off right now. And it should say on. Oh, wait a minute. I think that's all I needed to do. But yeah, I think that should be everything for that part.
Okay,
So
sweet.
So we'll just put this up enough that I can roll underneath, and I'm not going to put it
That sounds fine.
over here.
Man, so we've got the fuel system, we've got a fix for, we've got the HVAC stuff dealt with, we've got...
And obviously we have to test the HVAC stuff, but I mean, I knew that the flappers weren't going to work.
Right. Knocked out a lot more today than I was thinking we may even should, so that's really awesome.
Well, yeah, is leaking just a little bit.
Is it? Is it under like the output shaft seal?
It's the output shaft seal.
Huh.
Yeah. It's all straight out of the output shaft.
Weird.
And if you want to grab me a paper towel, I'll wipe it off.
Sure. That's fine.
I mean, in fairness, it could be slightly overfilled or something.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not the shifter. It's just, I mean, it's literally straight out the output shaft seal.
Interesting. There you go.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's not like soaked or anything, but I mean, yeah, there's transmission fluid on it. So and there's none, like the top of the, above it.
Okay.
Which would be the shifter. There's not any.
Okay.
There's no fluid. So it's all in the input shaft is, or the yoke is damp where it got some on it. But I mean, there's none. I mean, there's a teensy bit under here, like a couple drops of it, but nothing major. But yeah, that's definitely the output shaft. Oh yeah, that's why.
What's the matter?
It's got a little mark in it.
Huh.
Just a little tiny little bitty mark.
So new output shaft seal then, or?
Probably. And that may very well have happened when it got shipped too. Because it was kind of, if you recall, wasn't that one, the box on that kind of a little abused? Oh no, that was the cylinder
That was
head.
pretty much everything from Superstore.
Right, that's right. But yeah, it's just got like, it almost looks like a staple hole.
Okay.
Like there's just a tiny little, teensy weensy little mark. And I don't know if that's what's causing it, but I mean, there is a little teeny weensy weensy little mark.
Okay.
So that's possible.
All
but
right.
I mean, I wouldn't lose sleep about it right now.
Okay.
So, I mean, it could leak that amount for 2 years and you still wouldn't be low on fluid. So,
Okay.
But it definitely does have a little teeny drip.
Interesting.
So,
Okay. Well,
you used some brutal self-tappers on that belt, or on that surround up there, huh? There's some pretty brutal looking self-tappers. Don't reach up there.
That's for the
shifter
boots.
surround boot.
Yes. I didn't have any ones the appropriate size. And
Okay.
I thought, you know what? They're not touching anything.
Don't reach up there.
No, it will stab you.
You will bleed.
You will bleed.
Yeah. Okay, good. Safe to get that put in.
There will be blood.
But yeah, everything else, I mean, since we're under here,
Sure, might as well.
give it a chance, give it a look. No power steering leaks.
No leaking.
No,
Now, to be fair, when Safe had it, it was leaking power steering out of the top of the reservoir because I had a bad O-ring up there, and he replaced that.
Oh,
I haven't seen a drop since.
There's a tiny bit of little belt goo, nothing looks out of place. I mean, everything looks happy. I don't think anything's gonna fall off or light on fire, so.
No?
Clean the dust off. I don't know if I've ever shown you, if you can see right here, this is, I showed you this once, but to make sure, remember, this is your fuse and relay that runs your pump.
Oh, okay.
It's right here.
Sweet.
It just lives right under here.
Awesome.
So, if that ever stops working, that's where it runs from.
Okay, fair
I don't
enough.
think it's probably ever worked so far. Like,
No. She
you're not
hasn't
leaning
seen
on it hard enough
any
to-
boost on my end. But
I don't remember what that's set to, but that's just something, the Haltech runs that.
Okay.
There's an output name for it. So if Safe sets it up, great. If not, I can set it up just
Okay.
to turn on it. Basically just, above 3/4 throttle, which
Sure.
I think is what it's set to right now. It just turns on.
Okay. Awesome.
But yeah,
Well, I
little
think
tiny little nick in the output shaft boot. Like I said, I don't know if that's the problem, but there is a little nick there.
Okay.
So
Is that easy to replace if I get one?
we gotta pull the drive shaft.
Okay.
I think that's it. I'll look up how to do it.
Okay.
I've never done one. That's very.
We're just
very minor.
trying to take care of anything little that won't turn anything into major later down the road, especially when it starts getting boosts and higher speeds. So
I wouldn't. I would not let that be of any concern. My
Okay.
T56 leaked out of the tail shaft or the tail housing more than that.
Okay.
And for like 6 years.
all right.
So-
It's interesting it decided to literally leak itself on Sean's.
Well,
for,
it's such a small amount of leak that it's possible before when it was driving that it just blew off whatever was there.
Okay.
Like I said, it's
Weird.
a small leak. There was one drip, and you figure however much you've driven it since the last time you saw it drip somewhere, there was one solitary drop
Okay.
of fluid. So, but yeah,
Well, hey man, I honestly, you know, expecting this to be a late night, how usual car nights are with the Camaro, but you literally, I think, looked at every single thing I had, and I figured we'd spread this into a couple days, and that,
yeah, I mean,
really not that big of a deal.
I had a pretty good idea, judging from our previous discussions, of what was probably going on with everything. Like I said, I knew what was wrong with the HVAC. I was pretty sure I knew what was wrong with the reverse lockout. Like I said, the fuel level is just a matter of programming the gauge.
I can do
Same
that
thing.
on my own now that you showed me how to do that.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man. Well, we'll just take it one step at a time. In the meantime, thanks again, dude.
Yeah,
Really
no
appreciate
problem. Knock stuff off the list.
Yes. And thanks for tuning in.